Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Monday, January 13th. This meeting is being recorded as required by the town bylaws, and the recording of it will be put on the Whitman Hanson Community Access YouTube page. And just for the record, members of the Zoning Board and associate members present tonight, Mr. Curran, Mr. Jones, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Kimball, Mr. Blas, and myself, John Goldrosen. So first order of business is case number 1 for 2025. Location of property, Bedford Street, type of district, limited industrial zone, type of structure, vacant property, proposed storage and building. Owner's name, Last Resort Enterprises. Owner's address, 149 Broad Street, Whitman. When did you acquire this property? January 12th, 2024. Has application been filed with town clerk? Yes. Has any previous appeal been made? No. Sections of bylaw of which relief is requested, section 240-5.4 H2 and H3 special permit, and section 240-7.2 site plan approval. Reason for asking relief: applicant wishes to store trailers and containers on site before being distributed to work sites. Applicant also wishes to construct metal building that would be used for truck maintenance of company trucks. This case was advertised in the Whitman Hanson Express on December 26, 2024 and January 2nd, 2025. Sitting on the case will be Mr. Curran, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Kimball, Mr. Blas, and myself, John Goldrosen. At this time, we'll have the reading of the list of abutters. Mr. Curran?
The following is in the abutters list using the requirements of the State Zoning Act. Parties in interest for the property identified as 81 Bedford Street, Whitman, Mass. Vernon and Heidi Parent et al., Robert Curtis Brown, James Coots et al., care of Heidi Vernon, 114 King Philip Road, North Mass. Daniel P. DeRosa Sr., Jacqueline M. Algier, 51 Bedford Street. Edward Hunt, 67 Bedford Street.
So I'm here on behalf of my brother, if we can.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hornstra Farm LLC, 246 Prospect Street, Norwell. Hornstra Farms Whitman LLC, 246 Prospect Street, Norwell. Catherine Giazzano, 434 Howard Street, Whitman. Ann M. Reed, Kenneth M. Reed, 141 Bedford Street, Whitman. Pauline Giannuzio, Lacerda, Dennis Lacerda, 145 Bedford Street, Whitman.
Thank you. Okay. Everyone who's here to...
The plan?
No.
No, I can't really see that, so.
Harold, maybe would you flip-flop with Bob for this case so you can see the plan a little bit better? Okay. Everyone who's here for this case, as I guess you all are, we ask that you raise your right hand and take an oath, since you may be giving testimony on this if you wish to speak in it. Do you solemnly swear the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay. Our procedure is we have the applicant make a presentation. We then have questions and comments from members of the board, and I'll read into the record letters from town boards and ask town officials to speak, and then we'll go out to the general public for your comments and questions. So, who is representing the applicant?
Kyle Goddard representing Mike Delpreet, who is trustee of Last Resort Enterprises. The property contains 2.58 acres of land on the easterly side of Bedford Street, almost nearly opposite the old Peaceful Meadows ice cream, which is Hornstra's now, which is ice cream places down here, so it's a little bit north of that location. The property is also encumbered by actually 3 easements. There is a 300-foot wide Edison N-Star, 150-foot wide N-Star utility easement that traverses the property. There's also a 50-foot wide Brockton Water Works easement that traverses the property that has 3 lines that actually come from Silver Lake Reservoir in Pembroke and traverse and eventually go over to Brockton. So it is a main that encompasses the property for the city of Brockton. There's also a 15-foot wide sewer easement for the benefit of the town of Whitman for sewer that was run down Bedford Street, and they did run it up onto the property and then back off to keep it out of some of these utilities here. So there is a 15-foot wide easement along the front of the property. The property is bordered by, in the rear, by property of Brown and Coots, who own probably 100 acres of land that goes out onto Harvard Street. To the north by property owned by Catherine Genenzio and Kenneth M. Ian Reed, and also another Genenzio up onto the northern part. The southern port, there's 2 buildable areas technically on this particular piece. One at the southerly end of the property, just inside the water easement that Mike plans on putting a 50 by 120 foot building. Then there would be also an area to the north that is presently kind of a wooded area. Doing a survey, there is some grass encroachment on the Genenzio piece, but this area is wooded, somewhat grassed, is not going to be altered at this time, or probably any time. But the site now, Mike has had dumpsters on this particular site. He was given a notice to stop doing it. He did at that time. He was also doing some fill-in. He also stopped that work once the building inspector informed him to do that. So it's basically an area here that's going to be used for containers and dumpsters and container storage. The easement area in the front of the property does limit access to this area. It also has to be an area that no permanent structure could be located under. These are not permanent structures. And also nothing under or over this particular water line. We do propose, once behind the sewer easement, fencing and doing some landscaping in the 15-foot sewer easement with lowered shrubs. There's no high shrubs that can be grown. Eventually that will grow under the Edison easement because they like to go out and bounds. And also any plantings over the utility easement. We are proposing a drive into the site with a gate that would be given, a gate in the back here that would be locked at times, but the city of Brockton would have the key to have talked to them about this area because they do go in there every now and then for this water easement. There's several water gates in the street, and I also have a pumping station out in the front. The property to the rear is also owned by Last Resort Enterprises, which is presently a two-family house, correct?
Yes.
Two-family house. So there's not much alteration. There are no trees being cut because there aren't any under the easement, under the water line. This, for the most part, at one time, was field that was maintained by Peaceful Meadows, and the Coots family, who also has open field out here that they mow, and they kind of did it in conjunction at one time, but so there's very little alteration of any trees, right? It's just Mike has put some surface material in there, gravel type of material for the storage. And I think most people probably have seen it because it's been sitting there for the last 6 weeks or so. So if you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer, and so would Mike.
Mr. Garvey, let me just ask you a couple questions before we get started. So, what is the surface of this area where the dumpsters are, where dumpsters and containers are? Is that going to be gravel? Is it going to be paved?
It's a gravel.
Okay, all right. And what about by the metal building? What's the access to the metal building when you go through the gate?
Yeah, you go. The entranceway is going to be paved into the gate. The fence is coming down here, up and around. There's a gate in here, then it comes back down, and this is all fenced and going to be fenced on this side with stockade fence along the rear. This is just a concrete apron, and it'll be just bays in the front for any service of vehicles.
So once you go through the gate, you'll just be able to drive on the left-hand side of the building. Is that the?
Yeah, basically you'd be driving down almost like the existing 50-foot wide water easement.
Okay.
We're leaving that with the same type of material because there are 3 water lines, a 24 and a 36-inch water main underneath those.
So you wouldn't be able to pave those anyway. All right. And what will the building be used for?
Just to park the trucks in at night, make general repairs.
Okay. I mean, how extensive will the repairs be? Just consider about noise.
I'm hoping very little, because every time I repair a truck, it costs me money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's basically just, wintertime, you like to park things inside at night.
Okay. All right. Well,
If I'm repainting a truck, doing service,
yeah,
things that normally happen under daily circumstances.
because that's the kind, if you start repainting, I mean, that's the kind of thing that then requires
You'd have to pull a building permit and
Building permit
come in
for,
for uses and
you know,
all that kind of stuff.
ventilation,
Well, I'm not running a paint shop.
but that's what I'm raising is,
That is far and few between.
okay, all right. And a couple other questions, Mr. Garvey, are there any wetlands on this side where you have to go to the Conservation Commission?
Not at this particular site that I'm aware of. They haven't commented on it, and it's not shown on any of the DEP
Okay.
sites.
Okay, all right,
There is wetlands when you get further down in this area, the main river that goes under Route 18 on the other side of Peaceful Meadows. So everything is kind of draining in a southerly direction.
all right. And how, could you go through the fencing again, where it would be, how far it would extend?
Okay, we're showing stockade fence along this property line, even though that Mike owns this, if he was to sell it.
Right,
There's a
right.
stockade fence that's going down there, then it's gonna run parallel with the street, but 15 feet inside, so it doesn't block the sewer easement. Then it goes into this 50-foot setback from the street. So if the water department comes in the truck, they're not parking out here to open the gate here, the gate will be back in here. And then it jogs back. I believe you were proposing chain link with slats on the, is that what
Actually, it was more cost effective. We're gonna use the wood on metal fence, and we're gonna run that even going into it. We were gonna do chain link as it goes into the property. It was more cost effective to keep the nicer fence coming in as well.
And how far over will run? I raised the question because I think there'll be a question of shielding the view of these containers from the street, so that's,
The fencing is going down to this existing wood line.
okay. Okay, I see it. I was getting confused with the boundary of the sewer easement.
Yeah, it's.
Okay, I
the
see
fence is
it.
just set behind that.
Okay, I see it. All right. All right, let me read some letters into the record and ask comments from a couple of town officials. From the Board of Health, the Whitman Board of Health grants conditional approval for the petition of Last Resort Enterprises LLC for a special permit under section 240-5.4 H2 and 3 and site plan approval under section 240-7.2 as applicant wishes to store trailers and containers on the property before being distributed to work sites, and the applicant also wishes to construct a metal building that would be used for the maintenance of company trucks. For the property located at 101 Bedford Street, DPW billing records indicate this property is not connected to municipal sewer or water. Approval is conditional on the property being connected to municipal sewer and water. All buildings constructed must be connected to municipal sewer and water. All containers stored must comply with DEP regulations and must not contain hazardous materials. Sincerely, Daniel Kelly, Health Agent. Whitman Planning Board. At the December 10th, 2024 meeting, the board reviewed the plan for Bedford Street. The planning board recommends approval for the requested variances, but it's actually special permits, and suggests required screening from Bedford Street to offer some visual interference from the street. Adam Somerville, Chairman. And there we are. From the Fire Rescue Department, the Fire Rescue Department has no issues with this proposal as long as all applicable fire and building codes are met. Sincerely, Nicholas Grasso, Deputy Fire Chief. But since the Fire Chief's here, I'm just going to ask him any issues in terms of what's stored on the site, or what do we need to be?
The hazardous materials. Our concern would be you're not going to have dumpsters full there, right? It'll be transient, empty.
That's correct.
Okay, that was the question I was going to ask. You're not bringing refuse and storing it on the site.
Yeah, correct.
These are empty containers that you bring out to sites.
Yes.
And then when they leave those work sites, they go straight to wherever they're going?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And building inspector, Rob, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have a few questions. So I guess I'm looking at the, Carl, the edge of the storage area. So that would be potentially filled up with containers at one point? I mean, what was the number of containers you were looking to put on the lot? I mean, could we have them right up to the edge of the storage area? Is that what was shown?
I'm showing kind of basically what he has in this particular area here. I show some employee parking out here for people that come in the morning and grab trucks. But is your question, can they be in this entire area?
Yeah. As proposed, is that the intention?
I guess they could be, yeah.
So, I mean, you could have, I don't know,
I mean,
a couple hundred, 200 containers there if we filled that? Maybe?
I don't
know.
I don't think,
I physically own only 120, and they don't ever all come back to the yard at once, thank God.
But if business gets good,
Oh,
they
yeah.
potentially could fill the area.
Or bad?
I'm just asking questions so people know what's involved.
Yeah, because if we issue the permit, you might sell it to somebody else in the future. They might have 200.
Yeah, right. I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon, but I understand your concern,
Yeah.
The utility easement, so, what I've looked at under the International Fire Code, as long as there's no combustibles and no structures in the utility easement, I think it would meet that code. I'll defer to the chief. My question is, should we be parking vehicles there? Are they combustibles?
The question we have is the legal definition of a vehicle combustible. If one of those wires comes down, that car will catch on fire. Where if it comes down on one of those containers, it's just going to get addressed. The question would be, is there a better place for them to park those?
Yeah, it's a kind of, to
You know,
park. Where
See-
people are coming in and out, I don't know if that's
One year closer to the building.
if that's a great place for employees to be parking under the high voltage wires.
I'm sure they would appreciate that too.
And then the only other thing is, I don't know, Mike, what you typically put in the dumpsters. It's construction debris.
It's construction material. DEP classifies it all as recycling.
So when you have any drainage come out of these dumpsters when it rains and stuff, any
Yes.
leftover refuge, things like that?
No, and I don't get into any hazardous hauling.
The building would be a separate issue when he applies for it, but other than that, I think those are the questions I have for now.
Okay. All right, let me go to members of the board. Mr. Curran?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When do you propose to put the building up?
At some point this year.
So you're gonna get right on
I'd have to go back to my financial institution and get the wheels rolling. Once the springtime hits.
it? Right now, it looks awful, it's just an open lot, and the other concern I have is the drainage there. Is it just gravel, or is it crushed stone?
It's a Q-pack material.
Q-pack, like a crushing run that they use under?
Basically, it's the same thing that they use to even what they would have built, what's underneath Route 18 that's right out there.
So what did you do before you put that down?
Excavated all the loom.
So you took all the organic stuff out and put that down?
Correct.
Is that suitable for moving the trucks around, or is it gonna
It's
make a mess?
very, yeah, oh, absolutely. It's made it 100% very compact. It's a great surface to drive vehicles on. Good for weight dispersal as well.
Could you explain the southerly property line a little better? Is that somebody else using that?
This property,
No, the southerly one. Is it?
this would be,
Yeah, it's north. This property line here.
this property line.
So
is
this
right
is in here, and this is all the yard that the neighbors.
here. Well, no, this is all woods. This is all wood in here. This area,
So this is the parcel.
So you're looking at the,
At one time on the Genunzio, it was a triangle shape. Later, they bought from Hogue to Harris, this triangular piece. But yet they've kind of encroached over, there's a fence that comes off the house that ends here. So this is, there's no structures here, it's somewhat overgrown grass and just an area that somebody thought that they used, or maybe they gave them permission to use it. But then this is a wood line, so,
So you're saying that this is all wooded here?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And the fence, you don't necessarily need a fence. I think we'll wait for the comments from the abutter.
yeah.
Well, you put a fence, fencing over here. This is kind of a natural buffer. When you look at this piece of property, you say, oh, the property goes up to the wood line, but it doesn't. It goes way over here and then around.
Yeah, I think that it's up to the abutter which he wants. I think that, as long as it's
It shows a little better on here. Well, this is all, pretty heavily wooded. If you asked the Genunzios, they would tell you that's a pretty heavily wooded area.
the biggest nightmare about dumpsters is when somebody goes inside a dumpster with a sledgehammer. How are you gonna take care of that?
Like somebody.
You know how loud that is, right?
Somebody trespass, like, are you talking somebody
So you
trespassing?
fixing your own dumpsters.
Oh,
Are you gonna be welding out there? You're gonna have to, right? You'll be banging them with the,
honestly, these days, but not so much anymore. I've gotten rid of a lot of old ones and just replaced them with new ones. I found that it's just more efficient these days. And if something was to be repaired, it would be inside the building with the door closed. So
and it's still loud.
potentially, it depends on your point of view. And I'm
Oh,
not
I
trying to
think-
belittle your statement. You are correct.
Yeah, I had neighbors leaving messages at 4 a.m. that,
You're hard pressed to see me banging on the dumpster at 4 in the morning.
yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, it happens.
Never.
Especially when you get busy.
But, honestly, between general hours of business operations, noises can happen anyway. If somebody calls the cops, you're like, oh, he's running a business. You're not disturbing the peace until, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I don't want to work that
Yeah,
late.
no, the issue here is
I
you've
would
got,
never disturb any of my neighbors.
yeah,
like
you got
that.
residential properties on both sides, so. That's a concern for me, that they don't complain. And then when you do the building, if you're working on any dumpsters, you've got to be inside the building with the doors closed.
Correct, usually.
Right. I think that's all I have for now.
Okay. Mr. Andrews?
The only question I have is the number of units you're gonna have. You could have up to 100 at any one time?
You're talking about the dumpsters?
Yeah.
How many are there right now?
I physically own 120. One's in my yard. I mean, it's winter time. I might have, what, 30?
Now there?
Yeah. Give or take.
Yeah, probably a little bit more, I'd say. I did count it one day, I forget what it was.
So it's gonna alternate?
Oh,
depending on the season.
yeah, it could alternate. At one point, when we get really busy in the springtime or the summer, there could only be 5 in there.
All right, but you don't leave any there that aren't usable?
No, usually if they go for repairs, they'll go somewhere else to get repaired, or they might go in my future building, or I rent a space right now over in Hanson. They'll go there to get repaired. But obviously, in the particular future, if I have a building, I would just move them inside, make necessary repairs, put them right back out again.
That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Kimball?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got one concern, well, I've got a few concerns. The major concern is the screening from the road that right now it looks pretty bad out there, and I understand that, but I think we need some good screening. Secondly, if that's going to be dirt out there or crushed packed or whatever, have you got anything to prevent coming out onto the street with tires and that type of thing? Normally on a construction site, we have a dirt trap, so on and so forth. Are we going to have something like that, or?
Yes. When you first enter the property, there's going to be at least an allotment of 50 feet, and I plan on paving that as well. To get any sort of debris off of the tires, you're going to run over that. Also, just as a side note, there are known water gates right there. I plan on putting the fence up so that even if the gate is closed, if there's ever an emergency, Brockton Utilities can access those water gates without a problem. I've thought all of this through very much so. And we've also spoken with the head of the DPW in Brockton and the head of the Brockton Utilities to make them happy with whatever I drive over, the section of where the water mains are, to make them happy. I guess from a legal standpoint, you can only pave certain partitions if anything ever had to happen. I've been in contact with them to give them whatever necessary means to make them happy as well. It's a very viable material. It's not like I'm driving through that thick mud that I already took out that sticks to your wheels. And I understand your concern, leaving tire tracks of mud all the way up the road. The Q-Pack material stays put very well. And if it did, by the time you drive that 50 foot over the pavement, it would all be off the wheels.
Okay, you say there's no wetlands, but I see a timber crossing there. What's the purpose of the timber crossing? If it's not wetlands.
That was something that Eversource did to cover their own.
I don't know why Eversource went over that area, because that's not their easement, that's the city of Brockton's water easement. But I think they raised one of these pole lines, and you got a double here and a double across the street. They did raise the height on these pole lines. They did come in over the water and then swung back up and through here. There's contours drop down in here. Maybe they thought they couldn't drive over it with their machinery. And then there was also the city of Brockton made them put a protective plastic track that has since been taken out over this particular area that they were driving into over the water easements, because their trucks are quite a bit heavier than.
Yeah, not gonna be heavier than somebody brings a container truck back to the shop to put water in the radiator and then drive back out, and you've got a potential.
Oh, no, well, the trucks that they were using out there were quite heavy. They're trains, you know.
Okay, and the concern about hours of operation, can we put anything into limited before 7 o'clock in the morning, or? Because I know when I go to work, my dumpster guy's here at 5:30, 4 to 6, so I know the dumpsters leave early.
Yeah.
And
We can, we don't always. I only do so much.
Yeah.
That there are different aspects of the waste disposal industry that we're in. We're getting a little hard pressed to do you're not going to see one of my trucks trying to leave at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
You got a better chance of seeing God than me at 3 o'clock in the morning in my truck.
But
But
if we want to put some hours on it, I mean, what works for you? We just want, I think, something to,
possibly like a 6 a.m.
okay.
just in case, with respect to obviously people that are around there, even though it's more of a commercial area. But
Yeah. And in the evening or late afternoon, what's the latest that you're there?
There's only so much we can do when the dumps close. We're usually done by 4 or 5 o'clock.
So if we put 6
Not much
o'clock,
you can do. So
6 to 6?
6 to 6 was
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mr.
Okay, all right. Mr. Blas?
Well, I'll start by making a comment. I think what we have here is an example of how the town of Whitman zoning needs updating. Because there's, that was designated limited industrial 65 years ago, roughly 65 years ago. And maybe at the time, just like Route 14, potentially should have been all industrial types. Over the years, there's a very small percentage of the zoning area used for its intended zoning, and it's become mostly residential. Similar to this, originally zoned limited industrial, agriculture is allowed by right, but it really should have been rezoned highway business a long time ago, but it wasn't. And this is what happens when we don't update our zoning. So this is allowed with a special permit within this district. So that's my little spiel. But I'll ask some questions. Dumpsters versus containers. A container, I understand, is what goes on the back of a flat truck that is used for storage. Is that correct? That's a container.
Good as some.
And they're usually like 20 footers, some are 10 footers.
Like a Connex box.
Okay, and up to say 40 footers like you see on the rail cars, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, do you have many of those, or are we looking at 120? Is that all dumpsters?
Honestly, I have regular open top containers,
Okay.
some compaction dumpsters. I do have 2 Connex boxes that are 20 footers. They're not for public use. They're just for my own personal
Okay. So
business.
really this business is dumpsters.
Correct.
Okay.
If you know what DSAC disposal does.
Sure. When those dumpsters come back, they're not cleaned first, correct? They don't go through a car wash or a dumpster wash.
No.
So depending on what was in that dumpster, you could have some real odors that could linger, correct?
Very little, because I don't deal with a lot of MSW.
And so what kind of waste is that? That's
Municipal solid waste.
municipal solid waste.
You know, you're looking at mainly construction material. Anything a house is made out of. Construction sites, new construction sites, remodels. You might get a household clean out here and there.
I too am concerned about screening from Route 18. How tall is the proposed fence?
I believe in Whitman, you can put up to a 7-foot fence without a permit, am I correct?
What, anything over 6, or it's
State
anything,
building code says he needs a building permit for anything over 7.
anything over 7. Okay, all right, what are you proposing?
Well, I would like to do a 7-foot fence. If it's obviously applicable, I had a fence company come into my own yard, put up a 7-foot fence because they said I could, because he said he didn't need a permit.
Well, what's the
Correct.
problem with getting a permit and going 8 feet?
If you'd like.
The problem when you get into a fence that high is you're creating a kite. So it now has to be structural. Because any kind of 8-foot fence is going to catch the wind. Where's this fence going to go if it's not properly?
Even unless it's a chain link, right?
Unless it's a chain link.
But we don't want an open chain link. We want something chain. Okay, so that's why
trying to make
that's why the 7-foot fence. I'm just trying to get
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna put up something nice so it doesn't look like a prison yard.
Well, it is as well. It's not quite as bad as the old toll road down the street a little bit,
Correct.
but it ain't far away.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, I was told to stop what I was doing, so I stopped my cleaning efforts and the fence got delayed, so.
all right. Did you subdivide the property? Is that what happened here?
Yes,
Okay, so you bought it, you subdivided it,
I took the house off the other.
took the house off.
property.
All right, so it's not as though there's 2 principal structures on one lot. It's separated.
Is there already been a planning board?
Yep, they get it for me.
Okay, do you have any drawings of this proposed metal building?
It should be right there on the site plan.
No, I mean actual what it's gonna look like. It's gonna be, how tall is it gonna be? What's the lookout? What's the construction of it?
No, sir. Not as yet.
That concerns me. Again, this is on Route 18. This is in our town.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see anything that looks like it ought to be down on Essex Street. I'll just be very, very blunt with you. If it's going to be on Route 18, it better look good.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
better be an asset. And that's why I would want to see what that building's going to look like. Because that building is inside the fence or outside the fence?
Inside.
It's inside the fence.
The fence is 15 feet back from the property line. The building itself is 50 feet back from the property line. So there's 35 feet between the back of the fence and the building.
Right. Which isn't very far. That's like a house.
No. No, I mean, you can see the abutting house over here, which was, built back in 1890 probably, whatever.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just to add to your comments there, when I stopped by and I talked to Mr. Delpree, I was there talking to him about the storage of the dumpsters, and I told him he would have to come before this board. We didn't talk about the metal building at that time. That's why I said, for me, that's a separate issue. So that's up to you.
I'd like to know what it's going to look like.
Honestly, metal buildings come in all shapes, sizes. and
Right,
colors.
right.
And whatever appeases the board, if you have a certain color you don't want to see or you'd like to see, you're going to make my choice actually easier, because I'm not really sure myself. If it's something I believe just down the street, I think it was Tracy White that put those 2 buildings in, the 2 rows that went.
That's what I was going to say.
They're like a cream color or something. It's probably going to be something similar to that, if that helps you out.
Those are concrete, aren't they? They're concrete tile side or something like that?
No, and then we had, in one of them, we had a glass corner put in, if you remember correctly.
okay.
Then you had the Sweezy buildings, but those are.
Yeah, that's something different. Yeah.
Across the street, not on the same side.
Right, I know what you
But
mean,
they're
yeah.
on the other side.
That's Tracy White's.
Yes,
Yes.
he's my landlord in Hanson.
So what are those buildings made out of?
The steel construction
The
buildings.
block, the walls block.
No.
Maybe I'm thinking of something different.
No, it's across the street.
It's like a 4-foot concrete foundation,
Okay.
and then it's metal kind of on top.
Okay.
I remember you wanted windows in the front.
But that was because it was
Yeah, you didn't want it just looks,
that didn't have a fence, and I mean, that, yeah.
Aesthetics.
Yeah, this wouldn't matter for this. How tall would this be, the middle building
We
be?
haven't really gotten to total logistics, but obviously dealing with trucks, I need a 14-foot door. There's only one way you can put up a steel building to have so much actual physical wall height and then have the pitch for the 50-foot wide part. So they have to make it a specific way and a specific pitch to achieve a certain height. What that is, it's not, I don't get into the construction of the buildings myself, it's not my forte. But obviously this,
they're a lot less than 35 feet though. I think
You say 20 or
Tracy White's is somewhat bigger. If you look at the building out behind Squeezy, it's not as big as Tracy White's building. It's
the ones across the street, those are like I'm sorry, they're 30-foot wide and however long.
Yeah, it was
30 by 60 bays. My bays would be generally 50 by 30 by 50. Excuse me.
Okay.
Does the fence go all the way around the property or just across the front?
It's going to start at the.
It goes down, stockade fence starts here, goes down here, cuts across, goes back in, comes down here and ends at this wood line.
So it ends at the woodline.
Okay.
We were actually going to meet my neighbor's fence at one point.
There is a fence that comes off of this house and just dead ends here. It doesn't really go down.
In the woods there between your property and I guess it's the yard, that triangle, the Ganunzios. In the wintertime, when there's no leaves on the trees, and you're just gonna look right through there and see the dumpster graveyard.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a house, I don't know if you can see through there today, then you can see through there.
Oh, you could see through there.
Huh?
I said you can see through there.
Yeah.
Not much, there's a lot of brines.
It's pretty well overgrown.
Right, well, I think we'll want to hear what the buttons have to say about that.
That's what I think that's.
Yeah, because I think, yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
when it does meet their house, it actually is going to turn in and go onto my property and meet their fence.
Okay,
A little bit more of a buffer zone.
okay,
If you,
I see. Okay,
but I understand what you're saying, so you,
I mean, this is the property line, this is a yard area that's somewhat kind of overgrown, then this is a fairly heavily wooded area, this is very heavily wooded. There's a fence that comes off the house now, he's talking about connecting
it up there.
Coming the fence down to this point, bringing it into that fence. I don't think we were planning on bringing it back further, but
But Mr. Del Creek's property is everything in the green, correct?
is where we.
yes,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just trying to be a good neighbor to everybody
Yeah.
around me and not just,
Yeah. Well, just,
fence.
anything else, Mr. Blues? Okay, so I mean, just to continue with the fence, I mean, just from the point of view of security for you and your property, you know, don't you need to do more to, you know, we're talking about the fence mostly for aesthetics at this point, but what about for security? Wouldn't you need,
Somebody has scaled a dumpster?
well, I don't know.
I would love to put a fence up around the entire property, but I can't. The only thing you're gonna do is really just keep an honest person honest from just simply entering the property from the street right now.
And you can't put the fence up because you said you wanted to, but you can't because of the
Even
easement?
possible easements, I mean,
Okay,
maybe in the future, we can come back and that might be another meeting with Eversource here, with Brockton Utilities here. Maybe I can in the future, put up a fence back there with certain gates that allow them to pass through. I have no problem with that.
John, can I ask about lighting?
yeah, good.
Ask him about lighting.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Blunt.
What about lighting on the lot? It's 2.5 acres. And It gets dark at 4 o'clock here in the wintertime, 4:15. So obviously, you're gonna need lighting.
There's gonna be lighting put up.
And where do you propose to have your lighting?
I mean, I would suggest you'd have lighting on, on the corners of the building. That would be in this area here, that would shine.
And so you wouldn't need them on the other corners or within the area of the dumpsters?
No, I wouldn't think so. And if I had to go out there with one of my trucks, they've got service lights for the back,
And what about signage?
signage. What do you propose?
This is you're coming to us making a presentation. We ask questions because you're gonna need a sign, so what do you have planned?
Honestly, you might see one of my old signs that came off of one of my trucks back in the day, on a box trailer that's out front, blocking the view behind the fence. And there might be a big sign that just simply says Delbury Disposal. It's not, I don't run a business where people actually come visit me on my property at my office. It's strange how the disposal business works. It's not like a storefront where people just come in to my office and come and order. It's all by phone. People call you up with a need and schedule an event.
So you don't need any customer parking.
And not really, no.
Now, what about, do you use do you have any mail delivery or you can use a P.O. box?
I would like to have a mailbox
And where do you propose that?
on the corner of the driveway, hopefully.
Presently, they
81 Bedford.
They do have mailboxes on Route 18.
Yeah, 81 Bedford Street has one right at the where the sidewalk ends, right in the grass, right there.
Is there already a curb cut for,
Yes, there's an opening.
there's an opening?
Yeah.
Oh, because of the
The easement.
easements? Okay. I'm sorry, John.
Okay. So I know a question was raised about when the dumpsters come back, if they're not clean, what
They
do you-
are usually generally pretty cleaned out. And if there's any sort of dusty material, anything left over, it's a wind tunnel when we leave. So it's, you'd be surprised how clean they come back. And if there's anything in there, you're looking at like maybe a piece of wood, an asphalt shingle. It's nothing that's a harmful contaminant.
So I think, you told us no municipal solid waste. I'm assuming no organic waste. I think it'd be helpful for us so we can put in the permit, what no hazardous materials. But, we're looking to accommodate, you and your existing business,
Yes.
but we're writing a special permit that runs with the land. So again, somebody else takes over your business. We want it in the permit that there's not going to be any municipal solid waste. So I guess I'm looking to you for some direction as to, what we can prohibit to avoid. We don't want smells. We don't want rats and rodents. We want to protect the neighbors and the town.
Absolutely.
But, where you're describing construction materials, I can understand. But if we said in the permit limited to construction materials, does that restrict you too much? Is there other stuff besides construction materials that you want to be carrying? Some, we're looking to you for some,
guidance.
Yeah.
I understand.
Okay. And we can leave this open because I have a feeling we're going to need to continue this hearing to cover these things. But that's a question I have for you to ponder then.
Actually, that brings up something
Yep.
that I didn't even think of till now until you said it. Now, I'm building this project here. I might not always be in this business itself. Now, you need to know this as well because let's say the building gets put up, everything goes as planned.
Mhm.
Now, let's say 5 years from now, all of a sudden they decide to sell the business, but
Right.
keep the property. Now,
You mean, you'd be
In other words,
leasing the
now-
property to somebody else, yeah.
now I do what, let's say Tracy White does up the street. I put in some partitions. I want to be able to, put up a building so that there's a leeway that I can put up partitions. Now I'll have 4 bays for rent, and now I have yard storage for rent, for whatever meets the criteria for zoning.
Well, they would have to come back.
Yeah, you'd have to come back for
Have to come
site,
back
plan.
to-
If you're not doing any building, still come back for site plan review because it's a change in the use of the property and obviously, just as you're describing, could have different impacts. What are they going to do in those bays and so
Sounds like
forth?
a junkyard.
Yeah, so,
Contractor bays are very popular.
yeah,
right now.
but you'd have to come back for that. So I think what we're giving you would be limited to the current type of operation. How do you load the dumpsters onto trucks, I assume, right? So how many trucks do you have? And I assume they'll be parked
Yes,
then,
5.
open, 5 trucks, okay. And so again, there's no area that's shown here as to where the trucks are going to be parked.
Most likely right on the apron out in front of the doors.
In front of the building.
Correct.
Okay. And that may be, again, you may want to say that in the permit, trucks that are be parked in or in front of the metal building, so they're not, again, is a visual thing.
All right.
You've got hours of operation, which is significant. Okay, at this point, I wanted, because I don't want to let this drag on too long, I want to go out to the neighbors and get their, questions and concerns on the record. So if you wish to speak in this, would you raise your hand, give us your name and address, and whatever you have to say, yes.
Pauline Genunzio, 145 Bedford Street.
And so are you just to the north of this then, or? That's one that's shown here is Catherine Genunzio? Is it-
That's me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So where is your,
She's actually over
over
on this
here?
piece, yeah.
Okay.
There's another
Okay.
house here, but she's,
on the other side of
she
the
actually doesn't directly about it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, yes, go ahead.
My only concern was I noticed there was full dumpsters being packed there. I'm just worried about rodents and whatever's in the dumpsters when they're full and left there.
Yeah, and that was the question I raised, and as you've heard him say, Mr. Delpreet say, they come back empty. Nonetheless, I'm concerned for the future of what might still be in there, and that's why I wanted to suggest some limits on the type of materials.
Right.
And we would put the dumpsters that's to be stored empty on the site. We put that in the permit, so it's clear. Anything else now?
That was it.
Okay. Anyone else, sir? You in?
No, I kind of already knew what he was planning on.
Excuse me?
I said I kind of already knew what he was planning on doing
Right.
in the whole area.
Anyone else here to speak on this?
My brother's at 67.
Yeah, can I-
And on the back,
Yeah, your name again?
Amanda Hunt for Edward Hunt.
Okay.
Yeah, and they said they have no objections. They said it looks pretty well kept over there, so.
Okay, and
Proposing is
is that the house on the other side of the house that Last Resort
And
owns
number
it?
67, yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, so is Catherine Giannunzio here?
She's not. I'm kind of here, but
Okay,
yeah.
so can you just identify yourself, sir?
Dave Genunzio.
Okay, so, we've been talking about where the fencing goes in relation to the woodland. Does the woodland, first of all, if we're going to rely on the woodland to block this, I would want to put a condition that the woodland's not to be disturbed, that the buffer is to be maintained. But does the woodland work? Should we be asking for a fence all the way out to the back?
I don't think it needs to be a fence all the way out back.
Okay. Where does, there's a fence that's shown on her property.
Comes around the front corner of the house.
Yeah. Does that just run
Run right to the tree.
to the side, or does it run along the woodland as well?
No, it runs right to the tree. There may be one section that goes the other way, but
Oh, but it
it just
stops?
stops right at the trees.
Okay, all right,
There might be one 8-foot section that goes down the trees. I'm not.
okay, all right,
That could be.
all right. I wasn't sure from looking at the plan. So you'd be okay with the fences, they're describing it going up, meeting her fence, but not running all the way back? Okay. All right. I mean, what's the pleasure of the board?
I would certainly like to see what's proposed on the building.
See something that's proposed in the building, have some idea of that. I'd like you to give some thought to how we would structure the permit so it's allowing you to do what you want to do. I mean, like, for instance, in terms, I was going to propose a condition on the maximum number of dumpsters on the site. Big enough to take care of, what you actually want to do there, but I don't want somebody else acquiring this and having 300 dumpsters on the site. So,
I can understand.
so,
Absolutely.
these are the kind of conditions we want to put in, looking as much to the future as to your operation. But I'd rather you have a chance to think about that a little bit. Think about the fencing, just exactly what material it's going to be and so forth.
I was actually good at speaking of conditions, and this was before you mentioned anything. I was thinking that maybe one of the conditions would be no subletting within the building. This is either your building for your.
Well, or at least we'll specify the uses of the building, that it's to be minor repair only of the vehicles associated with the operation, any repairs as Mr. Garvey said, to be done with the doors closed.
I wasn't planning on renting out any part of the building. I need all.
I think on the application, I only say for his use.
Right, but I think that's the kind of thing we'll want to put in there to make it clear that if it's something else, you got to come back and we got to talk about it some more.
You're going to have to put a dumpster in somewhere because you're doing repairs, and you're going to have debris and refuse. So you're going to need a dumpster on the
I
site.
think I can handle that.
Well, no, because your dumpsters have to stay empty.
So your dumpsters have to be empty.
So I gotta call somebody else. All right, you got me.
Call DSAP.
But at least,
Fair enough.
but the point is, we just require this, everybody to show on the plan where the dumpster's going to be, how you're going to access the dumpster. I mean, I don't know which side of the building it's going to go on, but,
And they're going to go in there without any pavement. The empty dumpster.
right, but it's going to, so it'll have to be adjacent to this apron in some fashion. And again, we're thinking in terms of the house that you currently own, you may very well sell that one. And so we have to, and it's occupied anyway, right? You rent it out now?
I'm getting there.
Okay,
It's been under a lot of repairs.
okay. So it's going to be a residential property right next to the, pretty close to the
I don't think
building.
my own tenants are gonna complain to me,
Well,
so.
again, in the future, this could be separate ownership.
Keep thinking that.
And I don't. Yeah,
I'm sure he's one of the truck drivers.
so.
So,
I didn't march forward with any future plans for what the building would be, in detail, because I haven't gotten the approval for it yet. So I haven't
Yeah.
really gone to the bank, gone to my supplier for the building.
I think, but you had some idea of the size and so forth, and
Honestly, if you saw it,
catalog, you can pull something together. I think, just to be clear, I think the board doesn't have any problem with them putting a building up, right? So, you rest assured that when you come back to us, we're not going to say, don't put a building up. And I think if it's something like the ones across the street, that's
that's a
okay.
nice looking facility.
Yeah, we just don't want this to look like a junkyard.
Listen, the one thing I want is something really nice. So when people drive by, they're not gonna be like, oh, look at that. I want something to bring up the property value. It's just been an open, barren wasteland forever. I just want something aesthetically pleasing to the neighborhood.
It made a great field.
Yeah, yeah.
Went for a long time.
We built some snowmobiling out there as well. We haven't got any snow.
All right, so I'm going to suggest we continue this hearing. Carl, I think, are you clear enough on what additional information we're,
Yeah, pretty much so, yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So the biggest questions we have to revisit are what I'm hauling, when and where, and how.
Yeah, the building, for sure, some idea.
The type of fencing.
Yeah, I think, I think we're in agreement at this point on where you want to put the fencing. I think that's okay. The type of materials so that we can be specific, that you're hauling, so we can be more specific about that in the permit. Number of dumpsters, what's your outer range, that we can put on there. Maybe revisit the employee parking, and because the question was raised about having parking, within under utility lines, that might not be the safest thing.
This was all kind of give or take, but it's all susceptible to, things could change in the future. I mean, obviously, the park, they can park wherever they need to. It's very easy to move things,
Right.
It's
But, I mean,
it's just a basic idea
right.
and a basic principle, but there's plenty of room over there to put.
Oh, yeah, I mean, because the parking could be on the southern end, Carl, is outside the easement.
Could be
Yeah,
on the street.
This is a 150-foot wide easement.
Yeah.
But you have two poles. The wires are really right there. It's not, there's nothing
Oh.
over the edges. It's right down.
Yeah, so if it's just, just
Carl, this,
kind of revisit that, Carl, that just,
I think
it
there's
can be anywhere back there, but,
street to the building. I think there's 50 feet from the street to the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of parking there.
yeah.
And it's just me and two other guys right now.
But it could, it can be out back if that's what you want, but just make sure it's away from the utility lines. All right, anything else that I think we've pretty much raised?
I'll make a motion that we continue.
Okay, so let's see.
Planning board?
So is February 24th okay? Are you under a time pressure here? Okay, all right, because our next scheduled meeting is February 24th.
February 24th.
Yeah, okay.
That's a long ways out for the gentleman.
Well, that's why I'm asking, is that we could,
Make sure I'm here.
What about?
it could be the,
I'll be here. I'm actually going on vacation for once, so, yes, I will be.
otherwise I would make it 2 weeks before then, which is what, February the 10th?
10th.
The 10th?
Is that
I could do it.
February 10th.
Is that better?
I can do the 10th.
All right, when we do that?
That's not President's Day.
No, that's the following week. All right, let's make it February the 10th at 7 p.m. Well, and
I so move.
move by Mr. Kimball.
I won't be able to be here that night.
Well, Mr. Jones has been present, so he can take your place. So we'll, we have one other case already on the 24th, which was probably not a big one, right?
That's a long ways out for the gentleman.
Yeah,
We want him to get going.
yeah. Let's do it on February 10th, and everybody except Mr. Curran can be here, so we'll still have 5 at that point. Okay. So let's do February the 10th at 7 p.m. Moved by Mr. Kimball. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Andrews. All in favor? Okay. So if any members of the public want to come back for that, you may have had your issues addressed, but if you need to come back, you won't get another mailing on it. So it's Monday, February 10th at 7 p.m. Okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I have no objections to
Okay.
88 Glen Street. I have to go.
there was a, One question I'll ask you is, I believe there was a permit issued on this previously.
On 88 Glen?
Yeah, many years ago, 2015.
Yeah, there was, I just said in the last 2 years, but there was one in the, yeah.
All right, so you're going to discuss that.
I'm gonna discuss.
Okay, all right. Okay.
You said,
Listen.
yeah,
Yeah, I need, yeah, I need you to stay.
and we have no.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm staying, you'll stay.
I knew that was going to take an hour. Probably should have told you that initially.
I figured that. That's why Mr. Anderson left. I wouldn't look at those names. He said, I'm going, and I'm usually bed by 7.
Yeah, right.
That's why.
Yeah, that's only gonna be expensive.
6 by 26, is that bigger than? DK, you want to move there? DK, 6 by 26, 676 square feet.
He was a laser.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next case.
He was, on the group.
All right, thanks for your patience. I knew that case wasn't going to get done in half an hour. But we'd already scheduled it, and that's the way it goes. Give me a minute to get things organized here, and I'll get started. Okay, I'm going to call the next case to order. This is case number 2. Location of property, 88 Glen Street. Type of district, residence A2. Type of structure, existing residential home and proposed garage. Owner's name, Stephen Moore and Amanda Hunt. Owner's address, 88 Glen Street. When did you acquire this property? January 4th, 2008. Has application been filed with town clerk? Yes. Has any previous appeal been made? None within 2 years. Section of bylaw of which relief is requested, section 240-6.2. Reason for asking relief: existing property is enclosed by vinyl stockade fence that allows garage not to impact onto abutting properties. 5-foot setback allows for a straighter access from the driveway. This case was advertised in the Whitman Hanson Express on December 26th and January 2nd. Sitting on the case will be Mr. Jones, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Jones, Mr. Curran, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Blas, and myself, John Goldrosen. This time we'll have the reading of the list of abutters, unless I hear a motion to waive the reading.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Andrews. Is there a second?
I'll second it. No, case.
Yeah, he's not sitting on it. Is Mr. Curran? Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, want to second it?
Oh, you second it?
Yeah. All in favor? Okay. Would you raise your right hand, take an oath that you solemnly swear the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, who is presenting the case?
I'll be representing Stephen
Moore and Amanda Hunt for property at 88 Glen Street, which is opposite Pin Oak Way. Glen Street, as you know, comes off of Bedford Street. And basically, Stephen has a business, which he has a company truck, and the proposed garage is really going to be used for the storage of materials in his business. Not going to really park the truck inside this particular garage, and I think we're going to cut the size of the garage down to 24 by 24. And the setback is just to keep it inside the fence area. I have a letter from the abutting Ken and Mary Owen, who have no objection to the placement of the garage 5 feet from their property. The other property line, which is Joe Ripka, he lives out on, he's probably 400 feet away. He's out on School Street, actually. And that garage corner will be 5 feet from one corner and 6.49 feet from the other corner, because the property is not square. This property did come in front of the zoning board back in 2015 for an addition on the left side of the property, where the driveway is on that side of the property.
So that was built, because I thought maybe it was something where it got a permit and didn't get acted on, but that.
No, it did get.
Okay.
It did get built, and we do have, there was some problems with it, but I do have.
Because I got a copy of the,
There was a plot plan that was done,
which went with that, showed a proposed addition over here. So that was built.
Yeah, that was built.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what you're looking at over here now.
Yeah, so as we look at the plan, it's like the left-hand side of the building.
Does that mean that nobody owns it, so they're able to build there?
Turn and take up this whole backyard.
Is that
Where?
That's fine.
right here?
Yeah, well, no,
Nobody really owns it, nobody knows who owns it, so it's just kind of like,
yeah, that's the problem with that right now. Okay, we're straightening that up. No, the deed goes back to 1928 with 10 buyers. It says it's got 60 foot of frontage, and that's it, and I don't know how it got built, but I'm glad it's not my story.
Richard, is that Richard's long
How they got a loan.
passed away last year?
Yeah, I was gonna call him, but I don't have to know.
His own personal stuff.
Okay,
But that's being straightened out with the bank.
okay.
They own half of it.
And describe what the garage will look like?
We're gonna match it to our house,
Should be
so,
outside, the same color, everything.
yeah, same roofing.
And how tall will the garage be?
It's probably gonna be roughly 10 feet
Okay,
on the, we want to do 2 stories.
okay,
It's gonna be 10 feet, then probably like 8 feet up above,
So that's the key.
okay,
as little as possible.
okay. And you said you're gonna use it for storage of materials, so when you say you're gonna have like stairs going up to a second level, or what?
From inside,
Inside, yeah, okay.
it'll just be square from the outside.
All right. Okay, anything else before all right, I'll read the letter into the record from the neighbors. This is Ken and Mary Owen, so they're to the left of the building as we look at the plan. We are writing to have it noted that we do not have any objection to the request made by Stephen Moore and Amanda Hunt of 88 Glen Street, Whitman, to build along the 5-foot setback along our property lines. If you have any questions, we can be reached, etc. Thank you for your time. And from other town boards then, Whitman Fire Rescue Department has no objections to this proposal, provided all applicable fire and building codes are met. Sincerely, Nicholas Grasso, Deputy Fire Chief. Planning Board, due to the Planning Board's holiday meeting schedule in the month of December, we did not have a chance to review the application for 88 Glen Street. Therefore, we do not have a recommendation for this property. Adam Somerville, Chairman. Board of Health, the Whitman Board of Health grants approval for petition of Stephen Moore and Amanda Hunt for a variance from section 240-62A, as the applicant wishes to build a garage that will be located 5 feet from the side lot line for the property located at 88 Glen Street. DPW records indicate that the current property is connected to municipal sewer, water and sewer. Sincerely, Dan Kelly, health agent. And just so, well, think of it, you're not planning to put any water or sewer service to the garage?
I'd like to have like a wash sink or something.
Okay. All right.
Depends if I can make that work.
Okay. And electricity, so you can have lighting in there? Okay.
Let you drain too then.
Yeah, if you have a sink, now you need to drain in sewer line, yeah. Okay. Do you know where the sewer line goes in this property, or?
It runs, well, it's in front of, kind of cuts right through where our other garage is right now.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's technically front left of the house.
Okay,
It
so,
doesn't swing around the back.
okay,
No,
okay.
Well, you could get it into the basement, right?
I can, if I wanted to, because we just got a new street, so I don't think we touch the street at all, right?
Yeah, you could probably just go in the basement.
Yeah, that's the street.
Yeah, because that would be a separate,
It's a place, we're gonna go that road.
okay. All right. Okay, questions from members of the board? Mr. Jones?
Just, is it gonna be used strictly for personal use?
Yes.
But it's what we call an accessory business, and then it's for business purpose, but for the owner of the owner of the house. Yeah.
Yeah, just because you mentioned that you wanted 2 stories, I don't know if you had plans to rent out the top story of the garage or.
No.
Okay.
Okay. But we can make that a condition that it's strictly for use by the occupants or owners of the property. Anything else?
I have no question.
Okay, Mr. Andrews?
Yeah, so you're not gonna be using this for a garage then?
No.
No. Just
I'll have a small like door that like a big like almost like a garage door kind of, but it's not gonna be big enough for my truck anyways. But it's big enough I can walk in with like a 2-wheeler dolly and some equipment, like furnaces and stuff like that.
You're gonna be using this to store, stuff that you normally do?
HVAC equipment and whatnot. Stuff like that.
Apex?
HVAC.
HVAC. HVAC.
Store your own
Oh,
stuff.
HVAC.
Yeah, it's just for my own stuff. Because right now I rent the building and it's expensive, so.
Yeah, but if it's your personal stuff, it's different, so.
Yeah, it's all my stuff.
Yeah.
All right, there's no way you can move that over a little bit more to the other side, huh?
The building itself,
Yeah,
it lines up perfect with the driveway, so to go in, and plus we want to keep as much yard as we can possible.
yeah, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Kimball, even though you're not sitting on the case, do you have any questions?
I just think it's too much for the lot myself. You covered the lot, 50% of the lot is covered by buildings. Secondly, if you're not gonna put any cars in it or a truck or anything, you got a small garage door in the front of it, why can't we move it over? And thirdly, if you're storing HVAC equipment in there, it's a business, it's not personal stuff. So you're using it as a business, and it's a residential zone. No further comment.
All right. Mr. Blas?
What year was the house built?
originally,
1902.
yeah, and we've redone the whole thing.
Did you do the work yourself? The outside.
When we built it?
No, no.
We had a contractor do the addition.
They did a beautiful job.
Thank you.
Beautiful job. And if you're gonna match it to the garage, it's gonna look really nice.
Yeah.
I think 5 feet's fine. I think that's what mine is, when I got my approval. And it's got no problems with the neighbors. Thank you for bringing the letter from the neighbor. Right now, there's no fence between you or property and the Owens, correct?
We have a fence, yes.
You did put
Yeah,
it,
there's
there is a fence?
Yeah.
There's a fence there right now.
Oh, okay. I was looking at the
Oh, the
map.
ocean, yes.
Yeah, and where they show the new driveway, but they didn't,
Yeah,
We
the
had a
fence
real
is fairly
old
new.
one.
fence is
Yeah.
fairly new.
We had a really old one that we basically just knocked down because it was there since the beginning, and then we put up a new one.
Now, the fence it goes onto the Ripka's property?
Yeah, it's always been like.
There's a new white vinyl fence that runs
Okay.
down through here.
Yeah.
Comes down here. It does.
Okay.
It then connected over here. It replaced an older fence, but I don't know.
So you put it in the same place?
Yeah, well, the fence guy did that before we were.
All right, well,
I got there 2 days after the fence guy, unfortunately.
yeah, I think I would want to have a condition that a fence, note that there's an existing fence, and we would want that fence maintained to create the separation from
It's
the,
like a nice white vinyl one.
Oh, it's a brand new fence, yeah.
okay. Because I would think the Owens approval is probably partly because you got a fence there, so. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you, Mr. Blas?
No,
Okay.
I was just showing you where the driveway.
Yeah,
and the
I
fence.
drove by it, yeah. Okay. I was actually hoping you were gonna put your business truck in there, because your business truck is pretty big. At least when I went by, was that your business truck, or was it, I just drove by, I didn't know if it was a business truck or like a camper or something. That's
Oh, no.
that's your truck.
Well, it could have been other, yeah, his is blue. Was it a blue one?
I can't remember. Okay.
I thought they went to cut a new driveway.
You know, I, as long as the neighbor's okay with it, I'll be okay with it. I mean, to me, it could be 10 feet from the property line, since you're not, you know, but so the driveway is existing?
Yes.
All the way back?
The driveway.
Goes to the gate?
The darker one, it comes back here to, then they did install a gate here,
Okay,
so they could get back out here sometime.
okay. And so you're gonna just make that like stone, is what's being
Yeah,
proposed?
we haven't fully decided,
Yeah.
just because we do use the backyard. But we won't be out there parking the vehicles, so we hope to kind of. leave it
I kind of show this, they're probably gonna really run it like this, because he's not gonna park in there, but he is gonna,
Yeah.
you know, dolly stuff out there.
How wide is that the driveway that goes towards the garage? And not what you,
It's around 8 feet,
yeah, so it's not very wide, that's what I thought.
8 to 10. 8 feet.
I mean, I do share the concern that, and just want to look back here, and just to go over this for the board, so back in 2015, they came in for a variance to put the addition, which has the garage below and bedroom and bathroom above the garage, which wound up being 5 feet from the property line. I'll note that the members sitting on that case were Mr. Gometti, Mr. Andrews, Mr. Chandler, and Mr. Blas. I wasn't here that night. And the motion was approved unanimously, so we allowed 5 feet for a residential use of the second floor, and this is the garage, so I think I would just want a condition to make it clear the garage is, you know, not to be used for residential purposes.
Or ADU.
Or including an accessory dwelling unit, yes.
An ADU.
Accessory, the state is moving to allow extra, have an extra apartment in that garage. That's what we don't want. So, you know, strictly for
John, is it your
storage.
Is it your feeling that if in the future, if this was 10 feet from the property lines, It can be used for an ADU anyway, right? And once we adopt a new bylaw?
Yeah, if it goes through and depending what the state regulations are and so forth. So,
So is the state gonna get into the setbacks and change?
could. No telling you. They're still drafting the regulations, so. But anyway, if we make that a condition,
Well, the reason why I brought that up is that maybe we should discuss that, because if your thought is that if this were 10 feet from the property line, they may want to consider that, if that was going to be allowed to be an ADU in the future.
but then they would need a parking space for it.
So what? This is.
Well, they're only proposing to use it for, personal storage and so forth, not anything more elaborate.
My
than
feeling
that.
is-
I'd rather make that a condition of the variance, so
No,
it's
and I
not.
don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that if you're thinking that if it was 10 feet from the property lines, like our accessory building, our zoning says, and they could put an ADU up above it if it was 10 feet, then we should talk about that. But I don't think that's gonna be the bylaw. It's gonna have to meet the rear setback requirements.
Well, that's what we want to do, but whether the state will allow us to do that remains to be seen.
It's possible that whatever we do tonight could be overridden by
Not-
state law
well-
in the future.
Anything,
Probably not if this is granted by a variance,
Okay.
which is what it needs. So if we say that, it can't be overridden, I don't think. Well, anything can be overridden by state law, but even as currently drafted, I think that would stick. So I would want that condition in there, which, obviously it's what you intend anyway. But again, as you heard from the previous hearing, you sell the house, what does the next owner want to do? So,
And I'll just make the comment that the lot's 60 feet wide. We're looking for a hardship. And a 60-foot wide lot with a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling, albeit it had a addition, should meet the criteria for a shape of the size and shape of the lot to justify the variance, or size of that variance.
all right, anything else from members of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
did I sit on that case?
you did.
And how did I vote?
You voted in favor.
I remember that.
You actually made the motion, I know you did.
I wasn't gonna vote for it.
I was sitting right over there.
I just noted that I wasn't here that night. Because
If any of you have seen the property, it's beautiful.
oh, the house is beautiful, but I do echo what Mr. Kimball said. You got a lot of house there on a small lot.
Every house
What
on-
is the,
Storage bins have taken over now. All
now,
of
the building next door, which is shown as a Methodist church, what is,
They own.
they own
They
it?
own it.
It's a pastor's house? Ah,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, that's the parsonage?
Rent it out.
okay,
Oh,
okay,
they rented out, it used to be the past, now they rent it out, I guess.
okay. And that may have been part of the thinking that, and it was noted in the decision that
It's cool.
nobody raised any objection from the church property, which was most affected, so that went into your thinking, I assume.
Yeah, we talked to them, they were nice about it.
Excuse me?
We had talked to them as well, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Well, it said in that first meeting that it was gonna be used for a garage. When you look at the plan, there was no driveway going to the garage.
Oh, that's fine.
To which one, the previous?
Yeah, I mean, it said it was, the lower part was gonna be a garage,
Yeah,
but there was no driveway shown.
but there is a driveway, right?
But, yeah.
Yeah.
The driveway was over here.
Oh, yeah.
It said this was gonna be a garage, but it didn't show.
Oh, okay.
who was the engineer?
Al,
Was it Dick Avery?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Oh, it's sold.
so if we're all set, then I'm gonna, so the two conditions that I was suggesting was the use be limited to storage only, not for residential use of the garage. And secondly, that the existing fence as shown on the plan is to be between this property and the Owen property is to be maintained. That's to stay there. So with that, I'll close the hearing. Can I hear a motion to that effect?
So moved, Mr.
Moved by
Chairman.
Mr. Blas. Anything else? Second by Mr. Curran. Any other conditions or anything anyone has? Okay, all in favor? 5-0. All right, you're all set. Thank you. We've had longer.
I know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is the plate.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So we have, all right, so we scheduled the continuation of the Del Prete case for February 10th, and then we have a hearing scheduled on the February 24th. One hearing at this point.
What's that one on?
455 Franklin.
Change in use of an existing industrial building that's set down behind the property, I think.
Insulation, storage for insulation.
So it should be.
People are calling me on my cell phone about that property, that component.
All right.
Oh, really?
We need to do a good job. This is where they used to do the sandblasting, next to Cabral.
It's
Yeah.
455 Franklin? I
It
haven't
is.
been down there yet.
So
Okay.
get ready for that.
Okay.
Oh,
In
Oh,
fact,
that's
I would
Carl.
encourage everybody to drive by.
Got that, Carl?
yes,
Did Carl do the site plan?
yes.
Of course, I only do them if there's gonna be problems.
Well, get ready.
Carl,
Those people,
do you have anything coming up imminently, Carl?
that's, Jesus. I know. And I went to like 2 attorneys, they said, I don't even wanna handle this.
Oh,
Oh, that
Well, that's
land issue? Yeah.
15-foot strip, yeah.
Do you have anything else imminent? Just so you know, we have that meeting on the 24th, February 24th, so if we got something another week or
What's the
so.
24th?
that plot it.
We have a meeting on February
455
24th.
Franklin.
455 Franklin.
Gravel driveway.
Oh, I just submitted a couple others too, didn't I?
Hanging dumpsters.
I didn't get called. I was up there today, they would have said.
And there's 2 brand new houses though.
Thought I did.
Well, yeah, because if we get.
What's going on the 10th?
That continuation of Del Prete.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need a variance.
And we don't have time to put another case on that night.
Yeah, not now, yeah, right.
But
Just go take a look at
it
it.
might be another week or so leeway for the 24th, just so you know.
Well, there's a vacancy in here, so I don't know about getting a butters in.
All right, I just letting you know. And then, I mean, we'll have meetings in March if we need.
There's a guy with a food truck that wants to move into the Chinese restaurant
His name
next to Papagino's.
He was an.
Oh, okay.
He was doing stuff.
He wants a- I mean, the unit's this big, but I mean, I like business, but I want to survey that whole place so the guy can have a food
I
truck.
see you pissing outside one more
Alright.
time. If you put it back. Pissing out on
All right, we've got minutes.
Of course I do.
All right,
The 10th and the
Okay.
24th.
so February 10th is the continuation of Del Prete, and February 24th is the hearing on 455 Franklin. If something else comes up in
January
next
or February?
February, nothing else in January. If something else comes in the next week or so, we might be able to add to the 24th, but nothing else. Okay, minutes. Let's see, I have, thank you, Cal. Case number 17, which was the final hearing on 100 Cortell Ave, the middle school. So let's see, myself, Wayne, Dick, Bob Kimball, and then Bob Keeman was on it, but he's not here tonight. So it's the 4 of us.
I didn't sit on that.
Right.
Just flipping through it.
And you'll see, yeah, if you look at the end, you'll see how I structured it with conditions and then recommendations for the things that we didn't feel we could put as conditions. I'll be okay if we don't have another one like that this year. That was a lot of work.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve by Mr. Andrews,
I'll second it.
second by Mr. Kimball. One more time. All in favor? 4-0. Case number 20, which was 24 Homeland Drive. Myself, Wayne, Dick, Bob Curran, and Bob Keeman, who isn't here, so.
Make motion.
Motion by Mr. Curran. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Andrews. All in favor? 4-0 and 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Bob Kimball, you weren't sitting on that one, so. So 4-0 on that. And the general minutes?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Mr. Blas. Second by Mr. Kimball. All in favor? All right. Okay, I think.
Question,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. On the Franklin Street duplex they're building,
Yeah,
there's 4 bedrooms that they're advertising.
yeah.
And we had said 3 bedrooms. In
Yeah.
the,
I talked to, if you remember 74 Franklin Street, it's a duplex. When they made the presentation, they said it was going to be 3 bedrooms in each unit. We didn't make that a condition. Frankly, we were, I think, most concerned with the appearance of the building and the size and where the driveways would go and everything. It's being advertised as a 4-bedroom. I did talk to the building inspector before this meeting and said, would you look at the, because we did approve a plan, however. So what did the plan show? I can't remember that. The plan, we didn't get any.
yeah, no, we got drawings.
Did we get drawings of the layout?
Of the building.
Okay, all right. So if that was part of the decision, that should be part of the
And
plan.
they state they're advertising 4 bedrooms in each one?
Well, only one's for sale now on Zillow.
Yeah, I think there's 4 bedrooms in the whole building. It's a 2-family, right?
It's a 2-family.
No, it's going to be at least 3 bedrooms in each unit.
Inside.
That was how they presented it.
It didn't seem big enough for 4 bedrooms.
Yeah. Anyway, I brought it up to him.
Okay, appreciate it.
The building inspector interprets and enforces our decisions. So once we pass it, that's it. But I did bring it up to him. And I'll just take a minute to bring the board up on the ADU. I'll be meeting with the planning board tomorrow night on it. So the state is in the midst of drafting regulations for the accessory dwelling unit statute, which goes into effect February 2nd. So the state wants to issue its regulations. Before that, they had a comment period which ran through last Friday. I did submit a letter of comments, as did many other people around the state, because some of it is just, to me, way beyond what was intended. Like, I interpret the statute and the whole understanding to be you can have an ADU with a single-family building, right? They have it that it would be to any residential building. So you have a 4-family house, you can now have a 5-family house, even if we approved it as a 4-family house.
Does that mean they could build on a condominium, an empty area of a condominium? Could
That's
extra?
That's one thing they asked for comments on, is because they haven't really thought out how to handle condominiums. But anyway, we'll know in a couple of weeks and as I read what the state regulations would be, we would not be able to have site plan approval. We don't require site plan approval for a single-family house, even though we require a special permit to convert a single-family to a 2-family. So there's a bunch of things in there that I'm hoping some of it. Oh, and actually, they defined it, because the way the statute was written, you can have an ADU in any single-family residential district. And the state wants to define that to mean any district where a single-family house is allowed by right, by special permit, by variance, which means any district in town. So
Is that going to be part of the language?
we'll see in a couple of weeks. That was in the draft.
I have a seminar second Wednesday in February.
By then, it'll be out.
There'll be an attorney going over all that.
Yeah, it'll be finalized by then, because they want to do it by February 1st. So.
Wow.
So,
Oh.
Anyway, so that's all in the works, and I'll talk, and I'm gonna suggest to the planning board to schedule the hearing like for either end of March or end of February or beginning of March to allow time for me to look at it, town council to look at it, because we'll probably have to revise the draft bylaw to some extent, just to conform to whatever the state comes up with, so. All right, that's all I have. Anything else?
To the planning board meeting tomorrow night?
Yeah, I'll come.
Because Melissa's not gonna be there.
Yeah,
You're
exchange.
gonna have to be the secretary.
Good luck reading my handwriting.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Nope, we're gonna stay here.
Second by Mr. Cohen, all in favor?
Yeah.
Adjourn.
Sign my